Hey guys, here with you for Monday, April 20th. Talking about a pretty straightforward concept today. It's referred to as the crowding out effect, and it's kind of it's one of the things, one of the fears that if the government borrows money, that can happen to the free market and borrowing money for everybody. Okay, so the first thing we've got to understand is this term referred to as a government deficit. The government deficit, the term simply means that the government is spending more money than they collect in taxes. It's a very common thing. Our government has done it. I mean, besides a handful of different years, like I think the last time was 1999 or 2000, the government spends more money than what they collect in taxes. And so with this, we'll tie it into some current event stuff. Right now, the government has the stimulus plan, right? With they're giving every individual that earns less than $99,000 a year, $1,200. So that's for a married couple. That is $2,400, and then on top of that, another $500 per dependent or per kid for the most part. And so, anyway, when the government borrows money, what you've got to understand is that the government borrows money from banks just like you and I would. Okay. And so it's obviously a way for banks to earn money when the government borrows money from them. All right. But when the government borrows that money, all right, it's going to affect our loanable funds market. And so as this whole coronavirus thing is playing out, the government has changed their demand, right, for borrowing money because they need to borrow this money to be able to pay people these stimulus checks because they're not collecting more in taxes, right? So since this has happened, what's happened is the government has increased their demand for these loans, right? So we have our loanable funds market, right? And we've seen this graph, it's pretty straightforward. So since the government's demand has changed, it's going to shift to the right. Okay, so we have a new demand over here. Okay, and the crowding out effect, the concept is that if the government borrows too much money, which we don't really know when the government borrows too much money, okay, but when the government borrows, changes and borrows more money, right? Very simple, our interest rate increases. Obviously, the quantity of money that's being borrowed is also going to increase. And so the idea is that if the government does borrow too much money, that it could raise interest rates for the rest of us. Okay, so pretty simple concept. That's all I'm going to introduce to you guys today for this Monday. It's a little bit quick. I'm going to tag another video on there, and we will give you the assignment here in a second. Okay, so pretty simple assignment for today. Well, hopefully kind of simple. Okay, just kind of giving you something a little bit different than what we've done. All right. You're going to create your own fiscal and monetary policy free response question. And so obviously, you're going to have to identify whether or not come up with a reason that the economy is going through an inflationary gap or a recessionary gap. All right, and that's going to be with your long run aggregate supply, aggregate demand, short run aggregate supply graph. Okay, and then you're going to say, okay, identify what fiscal policy we could use to fix it. Pick one of those fiscal policies, taxing or spending, right? And then also a monetary policy. You're going to and then obviously after you do that, we want you to solve the problem as well. Okay, so anyway, just kind of gives you a chance to kind of think about things a little bit different. I want to see what you guys come up with. So you're coming up with the question, type it out like we've seen with our example free response questions that we've done a couple times throughout the course of the last couple weeks. Solve it, and hopefully that gives you, kind of gets you into the thinking of how these questions get set up. Okay, so not anything over the top. Email those to me, and we'll see what you come up with. All right.